The year is 2025, and it is the best time to collect anime figures. Now, I've been collecting anime figures for about half a decade. Here's just a quick skim through all my collection. Since anime has exploded in the last 15 years, anime figures are a lot easier to get, they become a lot more affordable, and with anime getting more mainstream with every year, more anime figures get produced. But Justin, where do I even start? Where do I get awesome, cool figures? Well, I'm so glad you asked. The best place to start is obviously online. But what site? Now, there are plenty of sites to use. I'm going to link all the sites down below, but the main three sites that I personally use is AmiAmi, Mandarake, and Solaris Japan. Almost every person who collects anime figures is going to use AmiAmi, mainly because AmiAmi is just such a nice, simple, reliable site. It's a site that I've been using for years, and they have like a really solid point reward system. If there's one site that rules all of them, it's going to be AmiAmi. I've never received a damaged figure or anything like that, and the customer support system is fantastic. Obviously, I'm not sponsored. This is pretty much the main site that a lot of veterans go to when they want a figure. Now, the biggest question that I always get for people who want to start collecting is, can I use Amazon? And the answer is yes, you can use Amazon. Anime figures that go from $20 to $50 is usually a safe place. However, if you're going to get an anime figure that is a little bit more expensive, to 60 to 100, then you run the risk of it being a knockoff or something really cheap. And also make sure, if you're going on Amazon, just to look at the reviews and just to look at pictures to make sure it's legit. So Amazon is a really good place if you're trying to get cheap, affordable figures in the $20 to $50 range. If I had to give my younger self some advice for figure collecting, I would say start with cheap figures. Ban Presto and the Sega Prize figures are actually pretty good quality. The reason why you always want to go with cheap figures when you're starting out first, because you don't want to grab something really expensive and you don't want to have to start draining your bank account. It doesn't have to be something that wastes a ton of money, and then slowly start to branch off and to get more expensive stuff if that's what you want to do. I see a lot of people when they first want to start collecting, they have to go big, they have to go grand. I got to get the $100, $200 figures, and you do not need to be doing that. No, because you don't have a big collection overnight. It doesn't happen like that. Take your time, slow it down, slowly collect, unless you have a ton of money to spend. And the most important tip is, are you living in a small place? Are you living in a big place? Because when you start collecting and start getting a ton of figures, you're gonna need rooms for them, because you're not really thinking about that in the long run. But when you start collecting figures, you gotta ask yourself, where am I gonna put this? Because eventually you're gonna have a ton of stuff. And guys, just don't be like me. I have a ton of stuff and it's just very disorganized. You want to get things that you're gonna have space. It's just gonna look like a clutter, and it's just not gonna look very aesthetically pleasing, in my opinion. Also, I would start with popular series that you enjoy, because if you're trying to find figures for something like Noragami or an anime show that's a bit older, you're gonna have a tough time finding a lot of these. So I would say pick a popular show that you enjoy and then start from there. Another question that I sometimes get asked is, should I keep the boxes? And because, anime figures go up in value, so should I keep the boxes? And that entirely depends on you. I like to keep the boxes mainly because if you're going to move, you're gonna need to put them into some place. So I like to keep the mold. I'll usually throw out the wrapper, stuff like that, but there's some people who don't keep the boxes. They don't really have any value to them. There's some people who also like to keep them in the box. They like having the box and like the aesthetic. I don't really like to do that, especially if it's not clear, so I'm just keeping it in the box, but it's whatever. Also, another tip is, don't buy expensive figures hoping to then sell them later on. There's so many people that I know that will buy a very expensive figure and then just never sell it, and they'd be like, oh no, I'm buying this because it's gonna go up in value. I think a lot of people are gonna end up losing money, and I think it's a lie that they tell themselves. Unless that's your job, that's a different story. And also, a huge tip is that if you're looking for a very specific type of figure, you can go to the site My Figure Database. I'm going to leave the link in the description, and you can pretty much find every figure in existence, and they have it stored and data log. Even though anime is mainstream, there are people in different communities who will kind of shun a lot of these hobbies and stuff like that. And if you're not hurting anyone or anything like that, don't be afraid to get anime figures. There's a lot of people who want to start collecting, but feel embarrassed. And I understand. If you're doing what you want to do and you love doing it and you're not hurting anybody, uh, screw those guys. They don't mean jack shit. Start collecting, go have fun. There's a lot of anime figures to choose from. Guys, what kind of videos do you guys want to see? Let me know in the comments below. I really want to push the anime figure content up because this is something I'm very passionate about. I've been collecting for a long time and it's just something I really enjoy and I love to do. So guys, if you guys like the video, subscribe and tell me what other anime figure content that I should do.